Cairo just recently turned 18, her parents like to go abroad, because of which she lives one in a big house. Only literature keeps her from being bored. She has one dream: to become a lover, and today something new will happen in her life. She will manage to meet a writer like her teacher Jonathan. He found inspiration in this remote town. Cairo shows up to class before anyone else. This surprises Jonathan, and he asks where she lives. They tell each other about their lives. Jonathan is amazed that Cairo has read the entire syllabus. Cairo jokingly replies that she likes it tougher, and then Winnie walks into the study and takes her friend out to talk while they are gone. Jonathan is looking at Cairo's books. He is distracted by Boris. He immediately realizes that Jonathan is reading a book, a girl's book, as its plot is very vulgar. Guys wouldn't read that. Coincidentally, Cairo likes to read the book written by Jonathan. He lives together with his wife Beatrice. She is also a writer. He tells her student is reading his book. The duo starts to dance, but they are distracted by a call from Emmy. A new day comes. The teachers are relaxing, sitting on a bench and drinking coffee. Boris wonders if the forest is haunted. A second later, Cairo comes out of the forest and walks right up to the teachers. Boris offers cookies, and Jonathan can't take his eyes off Cairo. A little later Winnie tries to get Boris's attention. She bluntly says that she is interested in their interaction. Cairo calls her a lunatic after class. The friends get together. Cairo confesses that she is having trouble finding a topic for a future book. Winnie suggests reliving a moment that will help in writing a topic, such as scheming with teachers. The problem is that neither of them has been in a serious relationship. Winnie wants her first date to be with Boris. Cairo also has to realize that Mr. Jonathan is looking at her in some special way, but Cairo denies it, and she spends the rest of the day reading Jonathan's book, and during class, they can't take their eyes off each other. Jonathan asks to come over to his place after class, and the same desire to get all of his attention runs through Cairo's mind. A little later, Jonathan decides to dance a little, but he is distracted by Cairo. She promises not to reveal his infatuation to anyone. Jonathan suggests going to a poetry class, in case something surprises her. He has read her latest work and liked it very much. Cairo burns with embarrassment as she explains to him what her piece was about. Jonathan wants her to write a story in the style of her favorite author. Cairo accepts the assignment, adding that she has read his book in its entirety, after which they repeat some of the phrases she liked best. Jonathan doesn't even know what to say back to him. Cairo interrupts the awkward pause and apologizes as suddenly Winnie walks into the office, and the duo ends the conversation. Today, the teacher and Beatrice visit a cafe. Their works and Vinny. Boris teases the girl, and Beatrice wonders how beautiful the girl who read his book is. He replies that she is very intelligent and unique. Beatrice decides to declare that Jonathan is not a writer. He chose to work as a teacher. After that day, he never finished a new book again. Tomorrow, Cairo attends a writer's circle. She feels that this day will be very meaningful to her. Jonathan is happy to see her, and a boy comes on stage and reads his work. Jonathan listens to him intently, but Cairo looks solely at Jonathan. She brings the teachers coffee tomorrow. Boris and shares his cookies. Cairo doesn't understand why Boris makes such delicious cookies, but she doesn't tell anyone about it. He could sell it to wine, will be able to make a logo. Today the girls stopped by Jonathan's. He reveals that he is going to go on a vacation with his wife. Vinny sees the Milo duo interacting with each other, and when the teacher comes out, she suggests Cairo to make the first move and seduce Jonathan. Their conversation is interrupted by Boris. He decides to sell Winnie cookies, quickly joins their team. All she needs is his number. That afternoon, Cairo calls Jonathan. He promises her he'll stop by and see her before he leaves. Cairo reasons that when love is real, it is quiet and imminent. A couple hours later, Jonathan arrives. Cairo. She leaves the house dressed in a white dress. All Jonathan can do is stand and watch her walk towards him. Cairo stops and asks him to come over to her. Jonathan still stands still. And then Cairo makes the first move, followed by a kiss. When he gets home, he keeps getting messages from Cairo. Beatrice is annoyed by the notification. This forces Jonathan to retire to the barn. There he starts reading Cairo's new book. He gets carried away and imagines that the main character is exactly them. Unable to resist, he does the dirty deed. A new day arrives. Cairo notices Jonathan's strange behavior. She asks what has happened to him. Jonathan replies that she needs to pick a new author. She states that he asked her to write a book about a subject she knows. Jonathan asks if she really knows that. Cairo replies that they do, seeing how he is swept away. Kyra calls that it's about two similar people denying social constraints. Jonathan still considers this book overly mature. Kyra, I'm sure he's too scared. They are not strangers now. Jonathan tries to explain that she's his student, he's Kyra's teacher, still wants recognition, that the work is good. Jonathan just doesn't want to admit it, and they call Jonathan redundant. But without ambition he could be much better, but right now he's irresponsible. Before she leaves her story in the administration drawer of the evening's reunion. Winnie asks if she likes Jonathan. Cairo calls him a sushi gas station imitation, but she loves him anyway. Meanwhile, Beatrice discovers that his student wrote it, but won't admit who the story was written about. Beatrice manages to coax a story about the piece. Kyra suggests that she should write to Boris. She does so. He comes to visit Jonathan's family. Beatrice notices Boris texting someone, but he won't tell who it is. The conversation starts to take a turn and Boris puts his phone away. Jonathan gets a call from the administration and is accused of having an inappropriate relationship with Cairo, but he denies everything. He realizes that if she manages to prove that they had something, he could lose his job. Beatrice adds that it's not just her job and asks him to tell the truth. Jonathan swears nothing happened. Tomorrow Kyra skips class. Winnie looks very confused. She tries to make Jonathan feel guilty, but he looks as cold as possible. Later, Kyra goes to the principal and describes their adventures. Jonathan has to defend himself. He's lucky that their stories match. When asked the final question, Kyra replies that nothing happened that she didn't like. Obviously Jonathan doesn't know what she answered, and the question made him very uncomfortable. At recess, Boris realizes that Jonathan has fallen in love with Cairo. He has the misfortune of not seeing a line that can't be crossed. That's what got him into this mess in the first place. On his return home, already Beatrice is asking her questions. Beatrice doesn't believe his lies. Jonathan couldn't deny that a spark had flown between them and Kyra. That was the final straw. Beatrice is going to file for divorce. Vinny comes to Kyra and asks her not to harm Jonathan. It will ruin his life just to get revenge for rejecting her. Winnie stands up for Jonathan and tells him that Kyra is lying. She quickly replies that Winnie can't do that. She has dirt on her and Boris when Kyra finishes writing a book about her and Jonathan. The movie ends. Write in the comments how you rate this movie. Well, or just recommend something interesting. Very soon. See you. Bye.